Matt and I started a text because we're showing similar things and seemed like a good guy. And so we go back and forth, and he's like, yeah, I keep getting these text messages of people asking me questions about why I did this or how I did that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting the exact same questions. And then one day we're like, why don't we just put on a course to like answer all these questions, because they're good questions. We're two guys who neither one of us has an ego. And I think that's what sort of people want. They don't want that, guy on stage who's talking down to his, 300 people in the crowd. They want the one-on-one, and they want the person who's going to text them right away back and let them know what's going on and that sort of thing. And that's what we like also.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Go Live with Joshua Scott. Man, I'm on episode 26, sitting down with just some of the best people in dentistry. And today, Dr. Israel Puterman on the show. Hey, say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everybody? Josh, how are you? Always good chatting with you.
I know, man. I've been looking forward to this because you and I haven't connected in a while. I mean, last time I saw you was December of last year out at the DIA conference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, DIA 2.0.
Yeah, that's right. For those of you guys that don't know, you may know Dr. Puterman better by his handle at Implants DC over on Instagram. Give these guys just a little bit of background on you and your practice and where you're at and what you're doing.
Sure. So I'm a periodontist in Washington, D.C. area, specifically in a little suburb touching D.C. called Chevy Chase, kind of like the actor, which apparently is he was a historical figure before the actor.
Okay.
And a little tiny place, about 2,000 residents or so, but it touches DC. So the majority of my patients and referrals come from the district. And, it's a quiet place where there's some interesting people live there. And I'm originally from Montreal and born and raised there up in Canada. And I went to BU for dental school. So all of my dental training has been in the US. And after BU, I went out to California and did 2 residencies out at Loma Linda. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So, I like pros, I like surgery, I liked everything. So I found a program that did everything all together. It was an implant, a 3-year residency in implant dentistry.
Okay.
And so I found that, somehow got into the program because it was pretty tough to get into. And once I was there, I realized that, I'm either going to be a general dentist who knows a ton about implants, or I can stick around and become a specialist. So I stuck around, became a perio at 2 extra years, and then moved out to DC.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in your practice now?
So I graduated, I think 12 years ago now.
Okay.
And I associated for 3 years before opening up on my own, I guess about 9 years ago now in 2011.
Okay.
And went solo, just fresh startup, started renting space and no patients. And lo and behold, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, you're right up against DC, because I remember when we were there, it must have been like 2018, I want to say. I feel like it was the spring of 2018.
It was. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So a little over 2 years ago, we were there for a project, and we tried to go outside and launch the drone to get some aerial shots of your building. And it was like, the thing wouldn't even take off. It was like restricted zone. And we were like, oh yeah, we are within like 3 miles of the White
exactly.
So
it really is. It's 3.5 miles or so from very important places. And there are no drones going up in the sky. Amazon's not dropping anything from a drone anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, so tell us about, take us through the COVID shutdown. I know you also had this other expansion project that was launching. So you really haven't been practicing since COVID, right?
I've been practicing, but not in my office.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
So, basically, I had my space, which, it was a decent sized space of maybe 2,100 square feet or something like that. So a decent size. But when I took it, there was this empty space right next to me. and it had always been empty. And, there I was maybe 6, 7 years into it. I'm like, that space is still empty somehow. Maybe
Yeah.
nobody wants to be next door to me, but it stayed empty. And I was like, I got to do something. Otherwise, somebody's going to come in at any time and just take the space, and I won't hear from it for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
So if I ever want to expand, now's the time. So I negotiated with the landlord to take on an extra, I think it was like 1,300 square feet or something like that. And kept postponing when I was building it because I wanted the second doctor to come in and build it at that point. I didn't need such a big space on my own. And that kind of didn't really materialize the way I hoped it would, but I had to build it. The landlord doesn't want empty space in the building, even if you're paying rent on it, which I don't know why, but they don't. So I came down to the wire about my deadline in terms of when I can actually build it. And then COVID hit. And so I'm like, oh my God. Okay, well, we were going to be doing it in 2 phases. It was going to be first phase of the the new space.
Okay.
And then when that's built, we move into the new space temporarily with a temporary front desk and like the staff room and everything. And then at that time, they would be doing the old space.
Okay.
And then we move back in and combine everything.
Yeah.
But it was about a week before that was going to happen. And my contractor reminded me that the first thing to go in the first phase was the staff room and staff area and staff bathroom and all of that. And I'm like, oh my God. So in COVID times when everyone needs more space, I'm going to be having less space. And I was like, there's no way to do this. Yeah. So I said, just shut it down. Thankfully, I've good friends who I'm working out of their office, great friends, ended on us and a general practice close by, and I'm working out of their places and seeing patients. And it's coming up time, 2 weeks, 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks. All right. Yeah. But every now and then you post some shots on social and it looks like it's going to be amazing.
It better be.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure. Is it on schedule? Has it been behind? Like what's?
Yeah, it's, like any construction project, it's over budget and behind schedule. I mean, it comes with the territory. It was supposed to open 2 weeks ago, like middle of August was supposed to open.
Yeah.
And so, it's probably about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to be 3 weeks overdue, all said and done.
Yeah.
But I like my general contractor. He's a good guy, and I know he's pushing, and hope none of the subcontractors are listening because they don't know that we're opening after Labor Day. They think we're opening before, and he's not telling them.
False deadlines.
He wants pedal to the metal still,
Yeah. No, I can imagine that just adding to some of the frustration with this, just being behind. But at the same time, it's, I've been in your space. I mean, when we were there for that project, it was beautiful to begin with. I mean,
Thanks.
Huge windows overlooking. I mean, it looks north, doesn't it?
It looks south. So
okay.
Those big windows, like, remember there was that little town that you can see?
Yeah.
In Virginia. That's Northern Virginia.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So we actually walked into the space next door.
Yeah. Took some pics.
Yeah. We took some pictures there. And at the time you were like, want to get this, whatever. What makes you like expanding like that? What are some of the factors that come into play where you go, okay, like economically, financially, it makes sense?
I wish I had a good answer there. I honestly, I really, I don't think like that. I don't think economically, financially. That's what I have my CPA for.
Okay.
And he just tells me if I'm crazy or not. I'll tell him the ideas and he'll tell me if I'm crazy or not. And
yeah.
I should stop thinking about something. I'm more of the big picture guy, the one that, I want what I want and what I think would be cool and fun. And I mean, yeah, you said my office was nice before, and I agree. It was nice. In fact, even this summer seeing patients, they were like all shocked about your office was the nicest office I've ever seen. Like, you're renovating it?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy, but yeah. I just think big picture. And if I want a bigger practice and want another doctor, I want it to flow efficiently. And that's why we didn't just expand, because once we expanded, it didn't flow well. So we're like, you know what? have to renovate everything to make it actually flow as one office. And yeah, I just, my CPA has always been on board about bringing in another partner eventually and starting off as associate and partner and that sort of thing. So that's the ultimate goal, and I need space for that.
Yeah, yeah. So that was going to be my next question. Is obviously you built the space to accommodate at least one other associate.
There are 3 doctor offices in there.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So there's potential even for a 3rd doctor there.
Yeah, yeah. When you've got this like such a great name for the practice and built such great branding around it, that I think you could really create a special like group that's there. Yeah, yeah. Tell me a little bit about. Okay, so you launch into this practice. You also you've launched into Instagram for sure. I mean, social media, but specifically Instagram. How is that? And you've kind of blown up on that. I mean, you're sitting at like almost 35,000 followers on Instagram now. Was that something originally that you were like, I want to do this? Were you just messing around with it? Like, how did you get into that whole space?
I have no idea, honestly.
This is going to be the theme throughout the show, right? I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to be like, I wish I had a good answer for that.
Honestly, that's me. Like, I kind of fly by the seat of my pants. Whatever's on my mind at the moment, I'm like, okay, let's run with this for a while and see where it goes. And this is the one that stuck. So, I honestly, I wasn't really into Instagram before. But I did know that, I wanted to be more in social media. And I thought that was obviously the future. But I've always been kind of hesitant about that. You always hear patients don't want to see blood, don't show inside the mouth.
Yeah.
And then, you go on Instagram and I see this guy who not only shows blood, but his name is Bloody Tooth Guy. I'm like, patients do want to see it. People do want to see it.
Yeah.
And, Dr. Pimple Popper is on TV, and people like that stuff. They want to see the sort of inside version of what happens. And of course, there are people who don't, and I feel for them too, especially my family. But, there's enough people that really do want to see. So initially, it was just about showing something and seeing where it goes. And then obviously I realized that, wow, there's this incredible dental community on Instagram. And if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would on Instagram meet people who I would chat with every single day and say, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
There are literally people who I'm constantly texting with and back and forth. And these are good friends who, I call and speak to, and they've turned into really good friends who you meet off of Instagram. And that's nuts.
Yeah.
And it wasn't set out to do anything. It just, I've always been into photography. I've always liked dental photography. My mentor was, a photo Nazi, where if there was a bubble in it, you'd hear hell. And so I always took a bunch of pics. I never really did anything with them. This was a way of putting them out there, doing something with them.
Yeah. Was there a point in that process where like things started taking off as far as followers and kind of influence, or is it just gradually grown?
I think it kind of gradually grew. I don't know if there was a real point, although, I think it hit another level once I teamed up with Matt and we started Surgical Influence.
Yeah.
And that was probably 2 years ago or so. I honestly don't even remember. But I think at that point, it probably went on another level. And the courses, all of that stuff, first they sell out in a week and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe people actually want to learn from us. And then I think I told you our last course sold out in literally 4 minutes.
Right.
It becomes a joke, and we try to limit the sizes and not make it big, but we literally get complaints that people can't get in.
Right.
So I think at that point, once Surgical Influence, once that sort of theme started to come on board with teaming up with Matt on that, I think that's when it really took off.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, I had people reaching out to me that knew you were a client of ours, and they're like, hey, can you get me into Israel's courses? I'm like, I don't think so. And I was texting you like, are there any spots? Is there any buffer there? And you're just like, bro, it is packed. Like, we're done.
Yeah, we're big on making sure people get what they want out of it. The last thing in the world we want, like we even talk during the courses of, hey, that person, we think they might need a little bit more attention. And we do that. We focus on that person. Like each person is an individual, and we want to make sure that they get everything they can out of it.
Yeah.
And that's why, our first course, I think, was 25 people. Our second course, 20. We said 25 is too many. We couldn't pay enough one-on-one attention at 25. So we cut it down. Now we've gotten better at the course. So now we bumped it back up to 25,
Okay.
but we're doing much better and we know how to run it, and we're not spending time on the nonsense anymore. It just flows.
Yeah. Which I would definitely want to jump into surgical influence here a little bit too. But before I do, how does your Instagram account helped build your practice there, if at all?
A couple of ways, and not really the way I planned it, obviously, like you say, the theme of this. So there's no question, there are some referring doctors and non-referring doctors who are on Instagram. And this is a way, I'm not one who's big on email newsletters and things like that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I've always thought of doing it, but it never really took off for me. So I kind of look at this as, in a way, an email newsletter. It can show what can be done.
Yeah.
And with a lot more discussion, because an email newsletter, it's a billboard. There's no discussion. There's no back and forth. It's just a one-way statement, a newsletter. And this is a two-way conversation. And in this way, I can show what can be done, and I get text and I get emails, and some of them even respond in the posts. But I know a lot of my referrals are on there. For instance, like one real good benefit right at the beginning is that there was an orthodontist, a husband-wife team, where they're actually good friends of mine, and they didn't know that I was doing canine exposures. It just never told them, I guess. It never came up.
Yeah.
And they started to see my canine exposures, like, you do them? We've been sending them elsewhere. Had we known that you do them, we would send to you. And they started to send their canine exposures. And so that's an unplanned marketing event that came out of Instagram. And then, of course, there are the patients that they Google, and somehow some of them go on Instagram looking for a dentist, and they see what looks like somebody who seems to know what they're talking about, and they come in and they're like, oh, I found you off of Instagram. It looks amazing. It's so cool. This is what I want.
Yeah. No, that's it, because it's not, I was gonna say, it's not like your account isn't like patient focused. It's profession focused for sure. And so, I think patients, that's not really the point, is them finding you and coming in. I was actually on your account. Oh, you know what it was? I was prepping for this. And I was traveling this week. So I'm on a flight, and I'm on your Instagram account, just looking through like what's going on recently. And the guy next to me just is like, ooh, like, what is that? I'm like, oh, I work in the dental profession. And he's just like, oh my gosh, like, why would people post that type of stuff? And I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, this is my whole Instagram feed, man. It's just this kind of thing.
He probably subscribed afterwards. He started to follow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, what was interesting is, I mean, when I was there with you in 2018, we went to dinner. I think it was the night before, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was.
And that was one of my questions for you at the time. I want to say your Instagram account at that point was like 12,000 or 15,000 or something. And at dinner, I was like, what do you want to do with that? Like, what are you trying to do? And I think your response back was something like, I don't know, like, what can I do? And I was like, I think you could do anything. I mean, just sheer numbers, like throw a course up. And I think, it sells like 15 people and it sells out, like just the amount of numbers. So you guys have leveraged that to launch into surgical influence. Like, tell me kind of how that got started, your relationship with Matt and all that.
Yeah. So it really just started because, obviously all the periodontists and even dentists, you sort of form this community, and it was obviously less people back then than there are now, But Matt and I started a text because we're showing similar things and seemed like a good guy. And so we go back and forth, and he's like, "Yeah, I keep getting these text messages of people asking me questions about why I did this or how I did that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting the exact same questions." And then one day we're like, "Why don't we just put on a course to like answer all these questions, because they're good questions, but it's kind of, it's not easy to just respond to everybody like that." And so we said, "Okay, well, let's think about it." So I think he actually put on one on his own as a test. And I think he had like 6 or 7 people sign up for it. And he was floored that 6 or 7 people
Yeah.
actually wanted to, see him in person and learn from him side by side. And that was deemed a success. And just a few months later, we put on our own together. And that's when we had the 25 people. And we just realized right away off the bat, like, we're two guys who we don't take ourselves seriously. We know that we're learning and we're changing, and it's not like our word is gospel. Somebody at a course couldn't say something, and we're like, "Holy shit, you know what? You're exactly right," and that might change what we do now. And we really look at it that way. And so like we bounce 1,000 ideas off of each other, and some of them stick, and we're very easy about, no, 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 that's not a good one. Okay, let's move on. Let's do something else. Neither one of us has an ego.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what sort of people want. They don't want that, guy on stage who's talking down to his, 300 people in the crowd. They want the one-on-one, and they want the person who's going to text them right away back and let them know what's going on and why this and try this and, interesting point and that sort of thing. And that's what we like also.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Obviously dentistry has no shortage of courses and CE. So I mean, there's so much of it.
yeah.
What made you guys go like, hey, we should get into this space, or like we could do this?
It was really just the question of, we're getting asked these things, and why not give it a try? Worst comes to worst, it doesn't work out, and we close it up. And hey, if it doesn't sell it, then nobody will even know that we did it.
Yeah.
And if it's so quiet that nobody signs up for it, no one will be surprised or
Right.
wonder where we went, because we were never there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So, I mean, okay. So you launched this first one, it sells out within the first week.
Yeah. It was 1 week for the first one.
Okay. And then after that, it was almost like you guys would drop a course, and if you weren't on within, yeah. I mean, like what, minutes, hours?
Yeah. So it first started at a week, and then I think the second course was maybe 4 days, and we're like, whoa, this is killer. I can't believe this. And then it was a day, and then it was a few hours, and then literally the last one, I remember the stories afterwards of people posting going, "Hey, FYI, don't go to the bathroom at noon when these courses come out, because you're going to miss the sellouts."
Yeah.
It was 4 minutes the last one. It was insane. And then the one after that, I think, was 5 minutes or something like that. But
oh man, that's crazy.
it's crazy.
That's like Kanye dropping shoes. Like, if you're not on, like, you better, you're not going to get them. So then this year you guys had, tell me what like pre-COVID, tell me what this year looked like. I know you had at least 4 or 5 on the schedule through the first 6 months.
Yeah, like everybody else. I mean, COVID didn't care what we had planned.
Yeah.
But we had, I think, 5 or 6 planned for this year. We had a private one in North Carolina. That was going to be a great one. We were looking forward to. Great group. And we also had big plans for other topics, because, you're the one who actually came up with, Matt, I think it was Matt and his wife, Eugenio, came up with Get Your GBR On.
Yeah.
And we were talking to you about, okay, like, let's, because you built our website, let's get some overriding theme here, and then Get Your GBR On is one small part of it. And you came up with Get Your Expert On, which is awesome. Great.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And it really genius. So once we had that, we were like, okay, well, all the different topics people want. People want basic implant course. People want sinus lift course. People want immediate temp course. People want full arch course. All of these things, and we're like, okay, well, somehow we could just put that all under the umbrella of surgical influence. And we had plans for a soft tissue course. That was going to be the first one, and that was probably going to be in the summer, the one that's just finishing, or this fall about the first soft tissue course. I think we have one in October, and that's one that we were planning to maybe do soft tissue, but it's impossible now.
Yeah.
And so if it actually goes on, it'll be Ridge-Og and GPR.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. I'm taking credit for that, but honestly, that's like my team. I think it was our writer that actually came up with that. But no, it was brilliant. I remember it playing out like on the site and just seeing that visually, and I was like, oh, it's a cool thing going on here with the hashtag too. You know, just kind of the nod to Instagram. What are you guys seeing? Like, how are you going to pivot? What does surgical influence look like the rest of the year in 2021?
Yeah, the rest of the year is kind of up in the air. So like I said, we do have one in October, which I think we're trying to make do. We had a couple this summer we had to cancel.
Yeah.
We're not sure about the October one, to be honest, right now. I guess it just, like everything, it depends what goes on from now till then. And we do have a couple scheduled early in the year, and who knows if those are going to happen. But we've really taken obviously we can't just sit there and do nothing. So we've been planning for the last few months to move online.
Okay.
Or not necessarily move online, but add online. We'll always have our hands-on courses because people love them. And honestly, there's nothing like a hands-on education.
Yeah.
You can watch videos as much as you want, but there's nothing like literally me or Matt holding your hand as you do something. And even periodontists who come to the courses, oral surgeons come to the courses, same thing. They all have that aha moment of, it's that slight little tweak that just means the world.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in watching a video. As much times as it's said to you, you have to feel it. So we are looking to go online, and we're looking at platforms to put videos online and be able to have that available on all of these different topics that I mentioned to you also.
Yeah. Would it just be like recorded stuff that they could play and just consume when they want, or live kind of Zoom based?
Both.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be both. It would be mainly watch when you want. They're online, and then there'll also be some live ones going on. Me, Matt, and Phil Walton are also, we teamed up for one coming up in October. We just announced yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
And honestly, we said limited seating because we want it to be a somewhat small group. And although it's not small, and I believe as of now, it might be close to 50% filled up after one day.
Wow.
So that's on the NovaBone sinus lift technique that we're doing a ton of. And we had a little promotion with Osteogenics a couple of weeks ago on that. And it just led to 1,000 messages about tell me how. And we're like, okay, we got to do something about this. So
that's cool. You almost got this like real-time feedback loop. Yeah. Like you post some stuff, and if it gets traction, you're like, oh, there's a lot of questions there. We can organize a course.
That's exactly it. Yeah. It moves so fast right now.
Yeah. That's super smart. Did you, oh man, I just lost well, no, I think with you guys, for me, what I've watched here is, and I've kind of taken this, like, I've been outside of this almost like little, there's this like fanboy club for sure of what you guys do. And it's been fun watching that from the outside. Like you were one of the speakers at DIA, Dental Influencers Alliance, and that was December. Such a fun conference.
Great group.
Yeah. You were speaking, and people were supposed to pre-register for these like breakouts, right? So you're there, you're in a room. I mean, I'm going in to like support you. I didn't sign up. I just kind of, sneak into the room, come up to the front. But I mean, more people than could fit in the room. I mean, people were standing probably 2 or 3 rows deep in the back. I mean, I'm sitting up front. People are sitting around me. I'm like having to sit Indian style to make room for people. And we're just on the floor. People were taking pictures, and it was just crazy. Like, did you, you obviously enjoy the live lecture like platform?
I do. Yeah, I like it. I like the engagement with everybody. I like the back and forth. I much prefer that than doing pre-recorded videos. We talked about this sinus one in October, maybe doing it pre-recorded, and all 3 of us said no live. But that's exactly it. It's so much better live, and even if there's a mistake, it's reality.
Yeah.
And people want reality these days. They want the hiccups. They want to know that you're real. And like in our courses, we show complications. We show my complications, really significant ones, and you're showing that you're human. So I think people want that in all of these live courses, and that's why I like it more than recorded also.
Yeah. And that was kind of where I was getting at, was I think like what's the unique thing with you guys is these doctors having a chance to just be there with you in person and even establish like this. You're already mentoring them from a distance, but like that chance to, and I think that's probably what's interesting is this day and age, so many of our mentors are like digital or virtual, the books we read, the people we follow on social, all that. But if you can have a chance to like get in the room with somebody, it's just like, why not,
Yeah.
And the chance of like bumping into you at the bar afterwards or grabbing a drink with you, it's like, we'll pay more for those types of experiences.
Yeah.
Which I mean, what's your take on conferences moving forward? Because I don't know that we're ever going to lose that.
I don't know. I mean, it's crazy. I wonder about how much of this, let's say there is a vaccine, early mid 2021, something like that. I don't know. I wonder psychologically, is this going to affect people? Are people still not going to be going to conferences? Are we all going to be wearing masks even with a vaccine? Or is it just one day, okay, whoosh, they're all gone?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would hate for conferences to be over because that's where I see buddies. That's where we learn from information. And you're exactly right. You learn as much at the bar at a conference than you do in the lecture, because you're able to speak to the speakers, and you buy them a drink and they talk, and you get to know them, and you get to know really what their feelings are. And that's what people do like about us with the surgical influence. Like, we do have a happy hour, and we don't even talk GBR. We talk practice, and that's what people want. And I learn from them as much as they learn from me.
Yeah, for sure. I think you guys, I would think you're in a good position though, because I feel like one of my predictions is I think the bigger conferences are going to have a harder time rebooting. Like the fact of like putting 500 to 700 people in a room that close, I think that's going to be tough. I think these little more private experiences, 15, 20, 25 people, I think those have a way better chance. And I almost like feel like this is going to push it to either side. You're either going to have virtual, like mass virtual offerings, or you're going to have private individual experiences. But all that middle stuff may just get lost.
Yeah, that's a pretty good guess about where it's going to go, because it's exactly that. How do you have 5,000 person meetings, 10,000 person meetings, or even 30,000 person meetings? How do you do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's nuts. It's totally changed the game. Personally, I wouldn't bet on anything. I would stay on the sideline about where it's going to go. But I know that in either scenario, people want the small meetings. So I think I think we're going to do okay with this. But my gut is I really hope the big meetings don't go away, because I still like them.
Yeah. What I had Brian Bollywas on here last week. What were some of your highlights from DIA last year?
Oof.
I know you go to a lot of conferences too. So was that one of your? For me, it was one of my top favorites of 2019. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, oh, there's no question about it. I mean, the first one I think was kind of weird in that you walk around and you kind of look at people and you're like, I know you, and it was just weird. But it was also weird in a good way of you're seeing people for the first time face to face, and you really don't go through that awkward initial stage of not really knowing the person. You immediately feel like you know this person even though you never saw them before.
Yeah.
The second meeting, 2.0, I think really just stepped up the game there. There were so many more people that came onto IG later, or for some reason didn't want to go to DIA 1, and they came to 2 once they heard how great 1 was. And I met so many more people there. David Atia came from Australia for it.
Yeah.
The Vegas Max Face guys, Moody and Jesse, I mean, they were there, and chat with them all the time. So many people who we just met that I hadn't met before, and it just made, if DI 1.0 was here, 2.0 was out here.
Yeah.
It just created that much bigger buzz and much bigger, wider circle. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as I left that, I was on the plane on the way home, and I just messaged those guys on Instagram, and I was like, hey, we're in for, 2020 as sponsors, like whatever that looks like. But obviously it's not happening. So we'll see. What do you think? Give me some of your just thoughts on the future of dentistry, just kind of post COVID. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, where do you see it going, or maybe some of the changes that we just won't come back from?
So one of the things that I've been doing with COVID and with the office construction and all that is I've been doing a lot of virtual consults.
Yeah.
And on Zoom. And I have to tell you, patients love it.
Okay.
And they're going so well. They sit in their kitchen, they sit in their living room, and we're not wearing masks, and we're able to have a chuckle about it. And there are so many, of course, there's no question about it. There are a lot of things that we can't do virtually. You have to look in the mouth. We're dentists. But there are so many things. I mean, at least me, my number one referral, I don't know, between this or soft tissue grafting, but my number one procedure is a single tooth, broken tooth has to come out.
Yeah.
And those are pretty easy to separate. Hey, we got the CT scan. So I review the CT scan before the consult, and we tell them, hey, it's either going to be an immediate implant or it'll be a 2-stage implant. And you go through those 2, and the day of the procedure, we'll figure it out, and we'll see exactly how it's done. Even if I did look in your mouth, it would be the exact same scenario. I'd be telling you the exact same thing. And so then the first time you meet the patient is at surgery. But I'm telling you, patients love them, and they're accepting beyond belief of it. And they all say they like the virtual consult meeting. And I don't know if that's going to go away.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will. Because why come if you don't have to?
Right.
Even pre-COVID, it wasn't fun going to a dentist consultation.
Right. No, that's really interesting. I'm glad you brought this up, because I've been wanting to get some real-time feedback on this, because that was arguably the number one kind of marketing trend through this, was implementing virtual consult on, through your site or whatever. And there are those that are doing it just because it was like the trend, and they're like, yeah, let's, do whatever we can right now to help the situation. And then I felt like where it really could have some play is vetting out, like even from a GP standpoint, of when you get a call about an implant or a high production procedure, you don't necessarily want to take up chair time with them to figure it out. So like, can you vet that out virtually beforehand?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you explain to them exactly what it's going to mean and what it takes out of them in terms of coming and follow-up and everything, what the financial arrangements are. And yeah, there's no question about it. They can know before they even come into the office if it's a fit. And in reality, they can see the office online on the website if you have a good website. Yep. So they know visually what it looks like. They know, immediately, is this an old, dirty office? Is a clean, modern office? office. Those are the two real distinctions.
Right.
And then personality wise with the doctor, you're seeing them, you're speaking to them, you get to know them a little bit. And I think the determination can be made right away, just like that, of whether this is the practice I'm going to go with and whether I'm okay going ahead with the procedure. I don't think you need that face to face.
Yeah, that's interesting. Give us your, because here's what I run into from, being a marketing company is, especially when we get into dental implant marketing, like, we can drive phone calls to a practice, right? I don't feel like that's the problem. In a lot of times it's like GP practices that want to start doing implants, so we get into ad campaigns. Now we're driving phone calls. I don't know that most know how to handle those phone calls. And so like knowing like, I think there could potentially be a longer sales cycle there. And do we need to have everybody come in? Now we're wasting like chair time, but then what do we do if we don't have them come in? How do you guys vet out those types of calls?
I don't know if we do.
Okay.
We have a really good, call it case closure success rate.
Yeah.
But there's no question that it's lower on the non-referred patients, which is standard across the board.
Okay.
And, in speaking with marketing companies and, whoever it is, everybody knows that it's sort of like fishing. You're going to cast your line, and how many times you're going to catch a fish, I don't know, 1 out of every 10, something like that. I don't know. But it's definitely not the, 80, 90% success rate you have on referred patients.
Yeah.
So there has to be a different mentality on it. I don't think we're at the 10% for those patients. I don't know, it might be 50 or 60 or somewhere in that ballpark, I would say. I don't know. We don't really track that quite as well as we probably should. But what am I saying? It's something that we really should treat differently, but we don't.
Yeah.
We get them into the office, and then it's up to me and the treatment coordinator, patient care coordinator, to show them what we are about. And, I really think it's about nice office, but this is the person I want to do this with.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Okay. So are you, but is there a level of pre-soldness, like when they come in, cause like they've seen your site, they've seen what the office looks like, maybe your Instagram account. Do you feel like maybe that's helping some of it too?
It might. I think it probably does to some degree. The referred patients, a lot of them are pre-sold. And obviously, every periodontist, every referral-based clinician knows, whoa, where'd you go? Sorry, every referral-based clinician knows that you can probably, before the patient is in the chair, if they're going to accept based on who they're referred from.
Yeah.
There's some referrals who 95% of their patients will accept treatment because they've been spoken to properly explain things properly about what to expect at our office. Yeah. And there are other doctors who don't quite have those skills, and they just say, go see this guy. And I guarantee you it'll probably be 50% case closure rate with them. So there is a lot of pre-selling or pre-closing, and I hate to use those terms because we're not selling. Like the case has to sell itself. They need treatment.
Right.
But I'm sure on their website people see and they kind of get a feel for it. But then it really comes down to the one-on-one. Is this the doctor that I want to go through this with?
Right.
And I think that's the ultimate thing. If they feel that connection, they're going to go ahead with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I just think you guys probably have some things working for you there that you may even take for granted. Like just going to your site, but then also like what you've invested into your practice, being modern and clean. And, and if they happen.
The staff.
Yeah.
The staff is huge. When they walk into the office, who's sitting there? Is it somebody who's on the phone, not picking up their head to look at them? Or is it somebody who can speak and have a conversation with them and talk to them about non-dental stuff? that stuff can't be underestimated.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything where you remarket to these patients that, like, if they don't accept treatment, maybe it's just not the right time for them, or they're trying to figure it out, like that goes on, like ongoing touches?
We follow up with them for a few months,
Yeah.
but and even the ones who generally don't accept treatment, we make we have an honest discussion with them about why, and if it's just not the right time, would you like us to follow up with you in a few months? We're happy to discuss. Happy
Yeah.
to have you come back in, no charge, just to discuss more questions, phone calls, anything that you want. And we make it clear to them that we're with them whatever decision they make, even if they're not ready for treatment but they just want cleaning. Come on in, like we're happy to see you and just take you on this journey and be with you on this journey. um, but after a couple of times of trying, and if they don't respond, then we typically, yeah, maybe to our detriment, we do drop it. We don't want to push it, we don't want to seem pushy, and we don't want to seem salesy and all of that. And if
Right.
somebody's not returning our calls or emails, then hey, they're telling us in effect that they're not mentally there, and that's okay.
Right. Right. No, and I agree with you. I think what's interesting is what I'm watching is, we've got a year or two of practices really starting to market dental implants aggressively. And I think most of them, if they don't convert that within a 30 to 60-day period, it's just gone. It's out of sight, out of mind. And I look at that, I'm going, there's just thousands, I mean, tens, hundreds of thousands of contacts of leads, like in sales terms, leads that were interested in that, but maybe because we weren't adapted to a longer sales cycle, it's like they get lost, which is it's just like a geeky kind of marketing kind of problem. But
No, and it definitely makes sense. It intuitively that makes sense. It's something that we'd probably leave to the marketing gurus like you to try to figure all that stuff out. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me, I'll get things wrapping up here, because I know you got you're just always on the go. Let's play a little highs and lows from COVID. What was high point? Like, something you're proud of yourself through that time?
There's number one, I'd have to say proud of the wife, how she took on the homeschooling, and even though she has a full-time job and it's an important job, but she really took that on like crazy, especially through March, April, May, and June, I suppose. And yeah, she really did an incredible job there of making sure the kids are on track. So that I would say is a high.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. What was the most challenging part for you through that?
The most challenging part, I would say, is remembering what it's like to be a traveling periodontist. And it's tough. It's really not easy. I did it a day a week way early in my career, and I hear even Matt, and he does it all the time, and I just don't know how. I can't keep straight anymore. My head just, I guess I've gotten too used to having everything right over here, right next to me, that I can't remember to carry everything and bring everything and all of that sort of stuff. But honestly, I mean, the challenge and the high, I would say another one would be at the same time would be staff and team.
Mm.
And I found it really tough, especially at the beginning, of how to, at first I didn't want to lay them off. I laid them off later than everybody else did.
Yeah.
And I couldn't bear the terms, I'm laying you off. I'm like, what? 9 years to build this team.
Yeah.
And here I am laying off my every employee, and it's crazy. And I just couldn't get myself to do it. So I waited too long there, but then I found it tough to obviously have my inner circle, but outside of that, how do I engage them? Do they want to hear from me? They're on unemployment insurance.
Mm.
They're not employed by me. And I guess it's more in my head. So I've learned that, yeah, they do want to hear from me, and we do have to keep up on training and all of that stuff. And I found that really tough. And then at the same time, the way they stepped up has been unbelievable. unreal. I could not have done what I do, seeing patients at these outside practices and taking all these phone calls and all of this and set up all these meetings and have my construction go and all of it without my team. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Good points. It was interesting. We've actually had a periodontist client through this. We were going to start on a project with her. It was a startup, and then COVID happened, and then she started traveling, and now she's moving the project forward, but it's actually just like her own brand website because she's traveled, in and out of other practices, and decided I want to go that way. It just is
Really
better. Yeah. So it's interesting.
more power to her. Yeah.
Watching people pivot,
Right, exactly.
All right, man. Last one. It's Friday, later tonight, Friday, after a long work week. What are you eating? What are you drinking?
Ooh, I was just asking my wife before what we're going to have for dinner, and she didn't answer me. So I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I might throw something on the grill or maybe order in something like that.
Yeah.
And drinking will probably be something from right up over there. Got a lot of bourbon right behind this laptop, and I would probably guess I'm going to reach for the Willet tonight.
Nice. Are you in your office now? Is this home? This is home office or?
Yeah. This is home.
Gotcha. So the bourbon's out of view, but it's there. It's out of my view.
Yeah. It's in my view.
that's the more important part.
Yeah.
I know you're a bourbon guy. Is Willet your favorite right now, or?
Yeah, I literally. I mean, I've got maybe 7, 8 Willets sitting right there. I'm looking at 5 Pappies, some birthday bourbons, Old Foresters. Whistle Pigs are amazing. I'm loving those. The ryes. Yeah, I mean, there's not Michter's, the 10-year rye you're looking at right there. It's amazing. There's so many good ones these days. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's actually, have you ever had High West?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'll say I've got a bottle behind me of their Boo Rye, but it's really good.
The Rendezvous? Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Very good.
That and the have you had their Boo Rye?
Yeah, I have it right over there.
Oh yeah. That's a good one.
It's the only mix of bourbon and rye there is.
Is that really?
Yeah, that's what the Boo Rye is, bourbon and rye.
Well, yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I've been trying to get. I've actually still never had Pappy. I've been trying to get my hands on some here. It's just a little bit harder.
Next time you come over.
All right. Well, yeah. All right. We'll do that.
I need you to come over and take pics of the new place and videos of the new place.
Yeah. I'll make sure I'm on that project. I'll come over.
There you go. Get involved.
Cool. All right, man. Hey, if people out there want to find out some more information about you or connect online, where's the best spot?
The best spot is just through Instagram at Implants DC. DM me. I do respond to everything as long as it's not out there, which now and then you get some of these. But yeah, I respond to 99% of everything that comes in. So by all means, it'd be great to chat.
All right, well, bro, hey, I appreciate you hanging out with us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you soon sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it. Thanks, Josh. Keep it up.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
Bye.